Welcome to Memorable Marketing by Media Group. This is episode 7. Today we have Bart Berghoff back again. He's the partner at Media Group. He's my boss, and he's also our strategy guy. He's the head of strategy. We want to get Bart on once in a while when he wants to talk about something timely. And today's timely subject is beyond the pixels. How do brands create a real experience for people shopping online? We get through a lot of topics. We talk about the Ikea effect. We talk about Japanese ladies in kimono serving sake. And we talk about Louis Vitton and Mercedes and Apple and how they're doing stuff. So stay tuned for a great episode on memorable marketing.
We make everything so easy online to purchase. There's going to be a counter movement where people will actually crave that sort of experience.
Welcome to episode 7 of Memorable Marketing by Media Group. We usually have different guests on every week, but we also go back to Bart Berghoff, our partner and the head of strategy at Media Group, once in a while when we have a timely subject to discuss. And the other day, Bart and I was talking about the death of retail and how it's exaggerated. You came up with a point about that. Do you care to elaborate on that, Bart?
Yeah, sure. So firstly, I think the point has been made both ways by quite a few people. I mean, the fact that retail is dead has been talked about a lot, and as evidence is given, a lot of these warehouses or chain stores or things like this have gone under, have disappeared, and that has accelerated to some degree under Corona, but for other reasons. And on the other hand, you have a whole group of people saying, hey, listen, retail is not dead. What do you count as the most innovative brands in the world? And look at what they're doing. They're all opening retail locations. So, what's going on? It's not that retail is dead. It's that retail is fulfilling a different function. And so I would divide up how we buy, how it's offered to us, into sort of loose taxonomy of what we need and what we want. There are cases where you know what you need. You just need to do some groceries, or you need to buy some batteries or whatever. You don't really care that much about the experience around that event. You just want to have a quick and efficient, easy way of purchasing what you need. But when it comes to things that you want, there is definitely a missing component to places of purchase, and that's both online and offline, where you just get in and get out. And that's it. It would feel very wrong to buy a Louis Vitton handbag in the supermarket. Just put it on the conveyor, and
scan the code, and just out you go.
Yeah. I mean, is that it? I actually have, because I don't know if you noticed, but whenever you go to a luxury store, it always takes a ton of time to do the checkout process. Like, that takes the longest time out of any category of stores. I think they do that on purpose, so you're not just like in and out. It's like, no, you stay here and think about what you've done.
Reminds me of that scene from Is a Love Actually with Rowan Atkinson, where he wants to go in and get that necklace for his mistress, and then Rowan Atkinson spends so this experience. Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. So is it experience economy? Is that what people are craving? They're craving experiences when they go shopping? Is that what's going to save retail?
I don't think necessarily it's going to save retail, but I think in order to survive in this age, you need to provide something more than just the checkout process. I think that's where the competition has led us to a point where, and when we say experience, or when I say experience, it's not like, okay, you get into the store, there's cheerleaders there, you get a glass of champagne, you go on a roller coaster ride, and that sort of experience. I'm just talking about, like, it has to be something different, something well designed, something where you feel a connection, and those types of places are getting stronger and stronger. And I have a theory about why that's the case. So with the internet came a whole bunch of possibilities for buying that left out experience altogether. So, and it has, I mean, in part, there are other reasons like fragmentation of media and people just spending more time on their devices instead of actually connecting and so on and so on. But all of that has led people to a sort of counter movement towards seeking of experiences. So the strong categories now in the world, like think about it, like you go to yoga class or you have some spin class or you go to very strong, almost cult-like brands like Apple or whatever. And the reason for that is, in my opinion, it's all kind of like a counter move to this process in the other direction online.
So a little bit like people who refuse to live in a digital world, want to have records, or people who still prefer VHS tapes to streaming. Is that counter movement? Is that what you're saying?
Things have to come out some way, right? So this is not political, but when you look at Scandinavian countries, you would say that those are the most gender equal countries in the world in terms of opportunities for women and so on, right? But they're also the highest difference in occupations chosen between the genders. The women do far more typical women occupations, the men do far more typical men occupations. And the reason for that is just that nature has to come out in some way. I'm not saying that this is all natural, but some things people need another outlet for who they are and what they want. And those things are going to come out one way or another. And so it's kind of the same way with these experiences. It's like if we make everything so easy online to purchase, to go through this whole process, to not talk to anyone and so on, there's going to be a counter movement where people will actually crave that sort of experience. And that I think that's what's gone on.
So getting lost inside an Ikea and going through that maze of things is an example of going out and experiencing everything that is very Swedish and very Ikea. Is that an example to counter that? Because it took Ikea a long time to get online. I mean, again, I can only speak for Australia, but only a year ago, 2 years ago, they finally got online. You can start buying through Ikea. Although before that, you had to go out and go through the yellow-blue maze,
Yeah, so I don't know the reasons exactly for IKEA, but I would say that the brand experience is not just going into store, although that's a big part of it, but it is also actually being frustrated with putting together the furniture, shouting at your wife, throwing your children out of the room. Those are all parts of the brand experience.
Yes, the IKEA effect, which is a scientific term now. Yes, but you care more about something you put together yourself, is what the research showed. But okay, so places like Starbucks where you can sit down, or when you go into a dealership with Mercedes, or is that what you're talking about in terms of getting experiences? Or go to a good restaurant where they come with a waiter come out and say, this egg you're getting right now was late from that chicken up on the film by Farmer Bob who lives down the road. His family has been this valley for generations, and you get the story behind it, and the food tastes better. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, although that is very annoying to me. Just give me my food and leave. But yeah, just that aside, that I suppose that's a part of it.
Enjoy the moment, Bart. You got to be alive. You got to savor it in, enjoy it. You just want to eat and get on with it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. The Americans have
that's why the wife got mad at you at IKEA. Is that what we're coming at now?
Yeah, I have little patience. Actually, interesting aside, in Hong Kong, people, whenever they need service or they want to leave or whatever, they'll just put their hand up and call someone over. In Europe, you just have to sort of feel lucky that someone looks in your direction and deems it the right time for them to come look at you. In the US, they'll give you the check before you're finished, which I think is great and very efficient.
I've lived 6 years in California. I don't like the fact you're sitting in a restaurant and you're not even done. And then they just come and slap the bill down. And if you stay longer, they keep saying, "Oh, you have to leave. We need your table." And it's just like, but I'm here. But yeah, well, your time is up, dude. Your time is up. I don't like that at all. But I guess if you're efficient, like you are, maybe that's a good thing. I want to
Yeah,
experience it.
exactly.
Be different in that sense. Okay.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. No, and just to get back to your initial question, I think that Starbucks is actually a great example of the experience that I'm talking about. Like, okay, objectively speaking, in today's world, Starbucks is not a great chain. I mean, like, I don't know anyone that goes like, "Oh my God, I love Starbucks. I associate with them. I'm going to take a Starbucks tattoo on my arm or whatever." I don't think it happens anymore. Maybe in some markets where it's still new. Uh, Today it's the status quo, but at some point it was a very new and innovative business model. And I think they called it the third place. That was their strategy. It's like you have work, you have house, and then you have the coffee shop. And you felt a part of a sort of community. You associated with doing your things, being a boss or whatever. You're sitting in that store. You're not just drinking coffee. It's like part of a lifestyle, and yeah, that's very interesting. I think there are lots of good examples to point to. I think another one that is not entirely the same model and thus is interesting to bring up is Lululemon. So the yoga brand that we all know. Whenever someone has even a plan to go to their first yoga lesson, they'll buy a full Lululemon outfit because this is the expected uniform for classes like this. I once went to a yoga class. I almost died, but let's leave that aside. And the teacher literally said to me, ladies, very sexist, ladies, put the block where the Lululemon logo is. And the Lululemon logo is like on the back in the middle. And so the teacher just assumed that you were wearing this uniform. And so to be part of that community, you had to wear the official community uniform.
Wow.
Yeah. So the point here is that Lululemon managed to make their brand an experience in the way that you become part of a community. That is the cost of being in yoga, is to wear their outfits. I think Reebok has done something similar with CrossFit, and so on and so on. So I think this is going to continue and continue. And the interesting part is that a lot of the design and luxury companies just get it, right? They know that it's part of this. The transactional businesses, the brands, I think they're starting to notice all of their competitors going out of business and thinking, what do we need to do to survive? And that is scale up their prices, scale up their service, make it a strong brand, or go the opposite direction and be a cost leader and lose. Basically, I don't think that's a sustainable strategy, but yeah, there are opposite opinions about that. And so what is left here, so we have retail, we have luxury, like regular retail, you have luxury. And then what is left there, just again for this example, with broad strokes, is the online world. How does the online world take this insight, this movement, and do something about it, basically? How do they take advantage? So I'm asking my own questions here. You can step aside. In my opinion, the idea is that you need to make buying online something real. So, go ahead.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, or my question is the luxury brands, what they do so well is make people feel special, make people feel like VIPs, give them that special tour and treatment, make them feel important. And you're saying that that's what we should try and replicate also online, where there's not just a shopping cart and here's your credit card details, send it to me. How do you replicate that online?
So let me just make a quick distinction about what you said about luxury brands and how they make you feel. So I feel that any conspicuous consumption, especially of luxury goods, are not about how I feel about myself in that moment. It is about what that says about me to other people. So if I buy a Mercedes-Benz or a Louis Vuitton purse that fits very nicely with the color of my eyes, I buy that because of what it tells other people about me. Basically, it's a status-enhancing symbol,
Yeah.
right? And so this is important because if you're trying to replicate that sort of thing online, you have to see what is the actually important thing. It's not about being treated well or having large amounts of service. It's about having a badge of honor of belonging to some community or having something that says something about who I am as a person to other people.
But they still do give that experience that you don't get at a dollar store or just at a supermarket where you're just checking out because it's just pure bing, bing, bing transactional. So they do provide a special service. And they definitely make them feel important. And, whether it's champagne, as you said, or it's coffee or whatever you get when you go in. But you definitely get that special treatment that makes you feel special.
Yeah. Again, psychologically, that is more to stay in line with the expected experience coming from that additional status that you're getting in the eyes of other people than the other way around. But let's leave that aside. Yeah, with expensive products comes an expectation of higher service and that in a lot of ways a better customer experience. All right, I got off track, but the thing for online companies is that what are some aspects that they can learn from? Well, one is to try to give real world or even digital world stuff that clients can use to define themselves in the eyes of other people. So, if you buy a handbag, you can show it on your Instagram pictures or whatever, or you can show it in the real world. And so every product, in a way, can be used in this sort of defining way, but almost none of the online-only companies have built up a brand that people have a common knowledge about. So if you wear Lululemon, almost everyone knows that you are a yoga person.
Or want to be one yoga person, but yes.
But it says something about you. If I buy a cheap Chinese brand of shirt and it has a big logo on it, people have no opinion about it. Like, it might have some aspects where you're like, okay, that looks expensive, so he might be in a higher class or whatever, but there's no meaning attached to it. And so it is this common meaning that is so important to build in some way, and you do that by advertising and other aspects, of course. But another thing which is very interesting to bring up as an example of the reason why it's such a good idea for companies to advertise in the Super Bowl in American football in the US is not just because a lot of people are watching, because you could buy those same amounts of people online for 1/100th of the price, right? You can get the same amount of eyeballs. The difference is that everyone knows that everyone else is watching. There's a common knowledge. I know that you have seen this ad about Nike or whatever, and I have seen this ad about Nike. We all know this about each other. And so there's a common meaning that is built up about this brand, that we not only the meaning that we have ourselves, but we know what meaning other people have about this brand. And so we can use that to define ourselves in society.
Got it. So it's a status symbol as well as being part of the club that that can afford and buy a Super Bowl ad. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, it's like, okay, for sure that is an aspect of it. Like, the medium is the message, and if you must be a legit company, but it's also like, if let's say there is a blue widget company that does an ad on television, and that ad, forget about the creative idea or whatever, but the message that you get in the end is that this is American-made, the most expensive widget ever made, right? Then I know that you know that this is the most expensive widget ever made. So when I buy it, I know that you're going to see me as a high income person or whatever, right? So that meaning gets lost if you do one-on-one targeting or whatever, because I don't know that you know what this product means. And that then there are lots more downsides to online and not having a real world brand. It's like, have you tried going on Amazon, not having a clear idea about what it is that you want to buy? Like, for instance, in the electronics section.
It's just you get bombarded. You get it's so overwhelming, and you get analysis paralysis. I mean, it's just it's too much for me. It's like when I moved first time to America, I went down to buy some laundry detergents, and I had no idea about the brands because they're completely different from Europe. And when I walk into the laundry aisle, first of all, it was 3 meters high and it was 20 meters long. I was exaggerating to prove my point. But all the logos and all the colors and everything was just shouting in my face. And I stood for 10 minutes and I just walked home with no laundry detergent and had my neighbor which one I should buy because I was so overwhelmed and everything was screaming for my attention. And that's the little same thing I feel on Amazon. And I am not a fan of it. Yep.
So before we get back to Amazon, just when I first got to Hong Kong, I had a similar experience. And I had a good think about this. None of the products in the washing liquid or powder aisle actually says what it is. It doesn't say this product is for color washing or this is for everything. It has some colors or brands on it or whatever. In the end, I asked the lady that looked like she knew what I should buy, and then I abused her attention by asking her for the difference between some products, and she's like, I don't know, I just always buy this one. And I think that's maybe what they're aiming for, but yeah, that's quite annoying. The thing with Amazon is that let's say you look for a robot vacuum cleaner, which I've done. I love that product more than anything else in my life. I'm sorry, my son. And the first about 30 results are no-name Chinese brands and other things like this. There's no accurate way for me to distinguish between these. And then they all have thousands of paid fake reviews. In the end, and this happens more and more to me, I've had to go to a review site and find them, or I just type in something that I already know. So for robot vacuums, I would use Roomba because I already know that this is going to be a good and reasonable product. And so all of this is just to say that you need to have a real world brand that has meaning in the public's eyes. And this is what online retailers perhaps are missing in a lot of ways. Like there are smart ones that are not missing that, of course, but this is the next step that a lot of them can take, is to have their brand mean something and for people to know what it means and so on. That will greatly help their ability not only to sell but to charge higher prices and so on, because if buying a product is the cost of joining a specific club, then it doesn't really matter what it costs. Lululemon could charge double, and there's just some sort of like price elasticity, because people only have so much money, but still people will buy it almost regardless of what it will cost, because this is the cost of entering that community. So that very long segment of this podcast was just all to say that the brand is a very important part, especially for online retailers, because that's what they're missing, that part of the experience. Then there are other things. I think. Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, not to interrupt if you were talking, but so we have Amazon as an example. Everybody has been on Amazon and knows the whole. You don't really know and trust what you say. There's a lot of fake reviews, and it's just price oriented. It's not so much quality oriented. What's the opposite of that? Have you found online? For instance, I'm looking at buying a couch at the moment, and I found this website. It's called Koala, and I don't know if it's Australian, American, or what it is, but they offer 180 days free. First of all, free delivery, and they'll come pick it up if you don't like it. And you can keep it for 180 days. Because how can you experience something you haven't tried, especially the couch? You want to be able to sit on it, so they just go deliver it to you, and they'll take it back if you don't like it. That's sort of why I thought, wow, that's a little bit beyond normal what you would get from a normal department store. Have you found anything that's the opposite? Amazon where you find that's going the right direction, if you understand the question?
Yeah, I do understand the question. I think for Amazon, they need to build in authoritative reviews and remove all the fake reviews that they're doing. So we're just going in the opposite direction. It was wisdom of crowds. Now we need the wisdom of experts again. And I think that's where everything is moving. I think the example that you made is very interesting. I don't think it's going to succeed because most of the time people would rather, when they shop for something as big as a couch, they would rather just spend an afternoon going to a mall of some sort where there are a bunch of furniture stores and go sit on 30. The marriage of online and offline is very interesting here. I think if you are a brand with significant resources, you need retail locations for the experience. You need actual places where people can go, and you use online to drive traffic there. And then you offer also, of course, an online facility for those people that are online first or that don't really care, but mostly for people that have been to stores or that have heard from, seen their friends or family use a certain product or whatever, and they already have experienced it, and so they can purchase it online. But I think this mix of the two is what is so important. I mean, a lot of people will order on the Apple Store online, but it is kind of a terrible site, and it is not. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people will go into the store, pick up a phone, look at it, and then if they order it online, they will go to the to the Apple Store online. Yeah.
How do we mirror that experience, that tangibleness with the couch, with trying on the Apple Watch, with being in the restaurant? How do we mirror that and do that online? I mean, I asked about examples before. What do you suggest? What's the next thing? I know I sent you a video. I saw these young guys that made this video that was AI powered, and basically he would say a sentence once, and then this video would generate based upon their name and who they were. So when you sent the link, it was a personalized video, even though he only had to film it once, but it could be replicated millions of times. Is that a way to go forward where you try to make it more unique, a little more special, where you say, thank you, hey, I'm the CEO. Thank you so much for shopping with us, Catherine. We really appreciate you coming, and we look forward to hearing you back. Is that enough, or is that also too generic?
Yeah, it's too generic, and people will catch on very quickly. If my friend bought something there and showed me this video, and I get the exact same thing, I'm not going to trust that shop anymore. And I think this is just not good. By nature, the things that really matter for people's experiences don't scale. So if because the things that matter to people are things that people invest in, right? Because if it's cheap. If it's cheap in terms of time that they spend or in terms of money or whatever, people don't value it as much. So it needs for it to be meaningful, it needs to be either something completely different or something very involved that they're doing. What would make you go and talk to your neighbors about an experience that you had? It had to be very much out of the ordinary, right? I think doing things that don't necessarily scale, looking at the, how can I give an example? So I think giving people real world things if they're buying something online is something good. If for instance, online retailer that sells clothes, shoes, things of that nature, the real experience that I have with that site is when the package is delivered, right? And it is the delivery man that has called me 12 times and refuses to leave the package in front of my door. It's the crumpled up cardboard box that is left on the porch. It's the 12,000 papers that are inside the package. It's the crummy plastic bag that is surrounding my T-shirt that I've ordered online. I'm thinking about like Zalora. I don't know if you know that brand, but this is always how it ends up, and I just come to have a negative expectation of that site entirely due to how things come to me. But what people don't understand is that the process is not the product. The product is what you end up with. So for instance, if I'm on the site, yes, if it's a bad site, it's going to stop me from going through that ordering process and it's going to hurt you. But what is the end product is the actual thing that ends up on my doorstep and how it got there, right? Like what a hassle it was or whatever. So to deal with those types of customer experience issues is very important. I would even say far more important. If everything was hand wrapped in silk and sprayed with perfume, and someone wrote a note with it, "Hey, my name is Jane, and I packed this for you. I hope you enjoy your red T-shirt." I'm going to think it's very creepy, but at the same time, I'll be like, "Okay, that's interesting."
Hey, Jane likes me. Jane is thinking of me for 10 seconds the other day. Yeah, I guess I'm just reflecting on my own world here, and of course that's how we sometimes do. And I had to buy some new underwear, right? And you can either go to the shop or you can go online. I went online to a store, and it's step one, and they say because the first thing you do in the morning is put on your underwear, right? So this is branded in Australia, and they make it organic and bamboo, and it's $20, $25 per pair, Australian dollars, which is what, 18, 19 US dollars. And I didn't want to order a lot of them, just ordered the one pair. And the experience it came a very nice package, and it was beautifully wrapped in this special paper, and you had to open that, and it was folded. It was very nicely done. There was no personal note, but it was a very good experience. And I tried them on after I washed them, of course, first, and they were really, really comfortable. So all the reviews online were not lying. And then so I ordered 2 weeks of underwear, and now I'm good for a while. So that online experience, testing it first and trying it, and I got a really good product out of it, and I was like, this is much better than the shops, and I was blown away by the product. It's actually really, really good. So it's the best underwear I've ever had. But that's also all the reviews said. But I had to see those 5,000 Trustpilot reviews in order to get there, and also to convince myself. And then I just tried with one product, but the product showed up. I got emails all the way through when it was arriving, when it was coming, when it will be on my doorstep. So that added to my experience and my trustworthy for them. Yeah, just want to point it out. And that was very good. Yeah.
But just to say that there are products that, how could I say this? So besides what you want and what you need, there's also further within that the products that you care about and that you don't care about so much, that are high involvement or low involvement, right? So I want a fast car, and I care very much about it, so I'm going to do a lot of research about this. I want a nice electronic watch, but I'm not too invested in it, so I just bought the first thing that seemed reasonable and nice. And so the online purchasing of things like underwear or socks or whatever, you could kind of take it or leave it. If you didn't run across this thing that's you probably wouldn't have cared either way. You could have just bought it at the supermarket. Or
it was an ad. Yes, absolutely. It was an ad that got me intrigued. Absolutely. It worked. Yeah.
There, it is very difficult to do the things that I mentioned with building up a brand and building up common meaning and so on. It's basically a commodity. There, it's about just making it easy to buy, making it a no-brainer, and then building a very good process for doing things. And yeah, maybe you'll buy again if it's a nice experience, or maybe if someone says that they want to buy underwear, you'll mention that brand if you even remember it. But that is what it is. I think that there are too many of these types of businesses where they just have one product or a very limited thing, and then they try to do it online or even as a subscription, heaven forbid. And I think that's all going to go away very soon. That's not a sustainable business model, and I don't think it is what people want.
Ask about subscription. So the big thing, or at least it was a couple of years ago, I haven't done any of them, but those mystery boxes, you pay a fee every month and the box arrive and you open it and it's like Christmas. You don't know what you're going to get. What's your take on those mystery boxes? And it seemed to be in everything from clothing to watching to products to everything that's under the sun. I know what they do. They go out and buy a lot of quantity of something and they just pack it into something else. And then people are happily surprised.
Yeah, I think it just hacks into the same part of our brain that likes gambling, and it's like a dopamine thing. I don't. It's not a business model, but good for those people for hustling to do that.
Good point. Good point. All right. One of the things that I found just in general about just services in general and companies in general is that many companies are very, very good at over-promising. They're also very, very good, unfortunately, at under-delivering. And I've found the companies that under-promise and over-deliver is always the one I recommend because they do more than they promise. It's so easy to make promises and it's so easy to fail. Whereas if you promise less and deliver more, I think people have a better experience. How do you think about that?
Yeah, so I think this is part of the same thing about surprising people, being unexpectedly good. There's a part of every experience that people expect, and it's kind of like a unsatisfier, like a dissatisfier. So if that doesn't happen, then people are going to complain. But anything above that are things that that people are going to have positive experiences with, right? And so over delivering is just kind of it is what people understand as service. It is what people understand as pleasant, because all the rest of it is just executing on an experience, like doing the bare minimum. And when you under deliver, it is the exact opposite, right? Like it's minus point, it's negative energy that you're creating.
But we talked a lot about various online retailers and how they're doing and your opinion about that. Let's talk about brands and regular brands and how they can get through.
Yeah, so obviously the specifics will vary a lot depending on the type of product or service that you offer. But let's say that that your insurance vendor, or you are a online trading company, or you deliver B2B products or whatever. These are all scenarios where it's not like a classic e-commerce situation. And we've mostly talked about e-commerce. And I think the same type of learnings could apply to them. It is to build an offline brand that means something. So let's say you're a business-to-business company that provides certain types of software, then you create a real-world community, for instance. Like Salesforce is really great about this. Salesforce is the CRM system. They have huge conferences and invite everyone to there. You're part of this community of users and developers and so on. And like it means something in the real world. It's not some website that you log into. It's not just that, right? If you're, let's say, a stockbroker, online trading company, the service that you provide, the product that you're selling, is basically just a website. It is something you type into your browser window or you download and install on your computer, and it's just you and the pixels. Yeah, it's okay. It's good that now that this is possible, but what about beyond the pixels? How do you make this into a real world brand, a real world something where you are part of a community, or where you can have an experience around this that exists in your real life? Okay. One of the ways that online trading companies in specific have tried to tackle this is by bolting on social parts to their product. So let's say they have a forum or some sort of a sharing platform or whatever, and to some extent, that has helped some of those instincts of people and has made their products more sticky and so on. But it is still not something in their real life. It is not something that their mom would see or that their brother or sister would see unless they're part of the same community already, right? It can't be something that can define you in the real world. And so they can take a page from other companies. They can have conferences. They can have retail locations where you go and actually talk trading strategies with other people. You can have webinars. But also something as simple as when you open an account, send a package in the mail with some gifts to do with trading that are relevant that you can put on your desk and like, okay, now I'm a part of this or whatever. If you see that the trading performance of someone is very good, give them a trophy. Like, why not send them a trophy? You're part of the top one of our customers in terms of performance. Something people can show and be proud about. Send them a t-shirt so they can wear it in the gym, whatever. Think of ways that you can make your brand real, I think is the best way that I can put it. And then secondly, make it a part of people's actual lives, right? And so invite them for stuff. If you are selling B2B software, probably some of the most boring areas in the world, right? And no one is going to say, I identify my personality with this Oracle middleware software that exists, and I'm going to tattoo that on me or whatever. And I'm not saying that will ever happen. I'm just saying, like, why not think about some way that you can make it a part of someone's life? So one of the ways that you could do that is by offering certification so they can display it on their resume, show it to other people, stuff like this. Another way is conferences, webinars, seminars, things of that nature. But also, send them something for your desk, or invite them for some other experience. And I think that marriage of online and offline is super important, and doing actual things. And as I said, besides this, you have to make sure, if you have the money as a brand, to make your brands mean something to other people. And like have a common meaning for your brand. Like, there was an old saying that said, no one ever got fired for buying IBM. Everyone knew at that point in time, this was already the 80s, I think, everyone knew that if you would buy an IBM product, that meant a few things. One is that you are probably a company that is doing well. You run things the right way, maybe ahead of the game a little bit. You are responsible. Let's put it that way. I don't know what the exact associations were, but everyone knew that, and that's why that saying got started. It's because there was a common meaning in the world, and I think this is something that we should all work towards building.
Okay, so if you are a trading company, so it could be a bracelet that people could wear with pride that had a little name on it saying trader or winner or something like that, and then as you have more and more you get more and more fancy bracelets you can show off. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just coming out here. Is that what you're trying to say, that people can? No, you're shaking your head. That's not.
Yeah,
that's not
I don't know why you have to come up with the most effeminate thing possible, but
no. But you can have a masculine bracelet. You can embrace your feminine side. You can wear a masculine bracelet.
Top trader earring or something like this. Yeah.
There's some. Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's not go down that path. You can have something masculine. It is possible, Bart. Don't worry.
Okay. Yeah. No, I yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. And I think that integration, becoming a sort of third space in people's lives, is what brands should try to strive for, and not in some meaningless, hollow, overreaching way. If you are a bath towel company, you are not going to, well, you might be able to, but I think if you set out by saying we're going to change the world one bath towel at a time, and we want people to be loyal to our brand or whatever, that's probably a little bit misguided. I mean, it can happen, but you have to use common sense here.
Yeah, well, it's recyclable bath towels made from plastic bottles, then maybe. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I don't think I would own that towel, but sure. Okay. So beyond the pixel, the interactions for brands today to survive and flourish in this world and bringing those experiences is about those personal touches and about those packages and about those being part of a community and offering something greater than just trading or just buying stuff. That's what you're saying that brands are doing.
Yes, and I think I can best summarize it by saying make your brand real.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah,
right.
Make it something real. And I think every company to some extent can do that. If you are a small business, let's say a small coffee shop or whatever, you can make that the official home of lawyers in the neighborhood. And if you are in that coffee shop, that means that you must be a top lawyer or whatever. Like, make it something that means something, I think is very important. And people are craving for experiences. I always use this example. In Krakow, in Poland, there's a really quite mediocre iron statue of a dragon that every minute or so spews out, I'm not kidding, about 10 centimeters of fire.
Okay. All right.
Right. And then you go like, okay, well, what do I care? But there are people actually, like, there are hordes of tourists that come out there and that wait for this, make videos, pose with the dragon, things like this. It's like people are desperately searching for something to happen in their lives. If there is a choice between let's say, for my personal life, I like sake. I like to drink sake sometimes. And if there's a choice, if I can buy it in a supermarket just off of the liquor shelf, or I can go to a Japanese themed store where there's a woman in kimono or something like this, and there's Japanese music and people bowing to me, and I'm like, I'd gladly go to that one over something else, just because we're all hungry for something interesting happening in our lives. And I think, that's instructive.
Well, with that image of a lady bowing to you in a kimono.
Oh no, does that say a lot about me?
No. Well, I will leave someone else, but I think we covered some very good stuff. Thank you for coming on this podcast. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
Something to discuss with my therapist later.
Thank you for sharing from your own life. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you for being part of the Memorable Marketing family.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bart, thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
So, Zane, at the end of these podcasts, whether it's on video or the audio podcast, you and I have a little talk about the theme and the subject and the guests we have on. So my question always is to you, what did you learn today? What made you think about?
I mean, well, this one's right in my wheelhouse as a podcast producer and a podcast evangelist. Like, making brands real is kind of what podcasts do, because it kind of gives you a view to the personality involved with a business and the motivations, and also the thinking that goes into a brand from a very personal standpoint. You're much more likely to trust someone and get that voice of reason from a podcast because they're literally speaking into your ear.
Yes.
And you're not as suspicious of their motivations. You know where they're coming from, you know what they're offering, and you know what they want their relationship with you to be.
Yeah.
That being said, a lot of the death of retail is a very interesting thing for me, and making a user experience as well in a real world. I want to bring up a brand that I feel does that in my life, and it's kind of a brand that's kind of made a niche for itself and is expanding from there. And it's Who Gives a Crap, which is a toilet paper subscription service, which is, I know that Bart was poo-pooing subscription services a little bit, but their main message is that they want to make give people access to plumbing and toilets that don't already have access to it. And so they're a brand for a purpose.
Yes.
But while they're supplying you this subscription, this regular delivery, their online presence is very personable. They make every step along the way humorous and interesting, to the point that before I was a member of their service, I had a friend who was, and they would literally give away rolls of toilet paper as Christmas presents because they were so nicely wrapped, and it was just kind of a joke as a stocking stuffer.
Okay.
But they talk to you online. You set, okay, I don't want to hear from you until I need new toilet paper.
Yeah.
And if you do need new toilet paper, they're going like, hey, in a week you're going to get a delivery.
Yeah.
Do you want to postpone it?
Yeah.
Do you want to move it up? Do you want to change it? Do you want to? And it's one click, or like you have a conversation and it's only pleasant. I've only had pleasant interactions with them. And so even though I'm not dealing with a person in a retail situation, I feel like I know who they are as a business.
What they stand for, because they want to try to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
It's like the Tom's shoes in America. You buy one pair of shoes and some other kids in South America would get another pair of shoes. This whole you buy some product that you're going to need anyway at some point. Why not do something good for others? So
exactly,
for profit, but also for good. And I like those, whether it's subscription or whether it's making a difference for someone else. Where we all share, and we're lucky enough we can afford toilet paper and a toilet in where we are right now. Maybe other places they don't. That's very interesting. So it's a good thing you brought that up. In terms of the podcast as a medium, where you said before, I just want to, this whole connection you can make with someone when you and I are sitting across the table from each other now, and we're looking at each other and we're making a human connection. But also when you're interviewing people, or you get to understand that person. Now we know Bart likes a woman standing in a camera. Sorry, Bart, I'm just making fun of it right now so we can all laugh. But it's not about that, but it's about understanding the human behind, in this case, Bart's part of the strategy, who he is as a human being, where he's coming from.
We know that Bart liked sake, and that is a product that he believes in, that he wants to consume, and
but also that makes him human, right? That makes him real. He's not some person behind a brand. Sorry, Bart, we're sitting and talking about you behind you. I hope you can enjoy this, but it makes him real. It makes him someone you trust, because we know he likes sake. We know what things he likes and what he doesn't like, and that makes us understand him more. And by understanding him more, we trust him more. By trusting, we connect, and therefore,
I mean, those make him a real person. But also through this podcast, we know why Bart does what he does, why he is involved in marketing, why he helps brands the way that he does.
Exactly.
And that is really a personalizing effect when it comes to a business.
Yes. Yeah. And at the end of the day, when we deal with other businesses, we're dealing with another human being.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that challenges for a marketing company is when the CMO, the chief marketing officer, leaves, because a new one will come in, and that new person has a relationship with someone else, and then you might lose the account. You often lose the account. So it is still human based, and we need to have that trust level. And that's, I guess, the idea behind this podcast, is that we tell our story, but also we tell our client story, and we interview people who were leaders in this space. So, and
that's the thing, a business is made up, and a company is made up of so many different personalities a business brand is strongest when its core is made up of people who believe in the same thing and doing things for the same reason. And that's why this podcasting, sort of podcasting, is so, I believe, is so valuable to personalizing brands and businesses. Yeah.
But going back to what he said beyond the pixel, that you give that experience, that you give something beyond and what is expected, whether it's a package, whether it's the silly bracelet I mentioned, or whatever it is that connects them to something and show them. I like that. And I think more brands should do that. So that's definitely something that I thought about. That was
the
really
status
good.
symbol.
The status symbol, the show-off effect, the part of a tribe, I'm part of a community, I'm part of something that's bigger than me, that I believe in.
And that's unboxing videos were at one point one of the biggest phenomenons on YouTube. And that's, again, like, you're getting a delivery and how does this business present itself
Yes.
in the real world rather
Yes.
than just when I'm ordering something.
Which is talks about with Bart when he gets that slobby package.
Yeah.
That's run down piece of paper, cheap plastic bag, and here you go. And yeah, he just definitely doesn't like that. So yeah. That's a word of advice for everyone else. Okay. All right. So thank you. It's always a pleasure having you on. Thank you for having Bart on, and we'll do another episode
next time.